welcome to another episode of the Journee Continues Podcast, where we have meaningful conversations that educate, inspire, and promote hope, healing, recovery. I'm your host, Tamesha Little. Today, we have a guest that is near and dear to me, very good friend of mine, Dr. Kevin Scott, United States Marine Corps veteran, trauma specialist, certified peer recovery coach, and a mental health advocate. Through his work and lived experience, Dr. Scott has dedicated his career to helping individuals heal from trauma, supporting veterans, and promoting mental wellness in our community. Today, we'll discuss the invisible wounds that many people carry, the impact of trauma on mental health, unique challenges veterans often face, and why seeking help is a sign of strength. Dr. Scott, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Journee Continues Podcast.
Wow. Well, thank you, Ms. Tamesha Little. Yes, my dear, dear friend. What a phenomenal introduction and segue. I feel like I need to get your cash out because I feel I owe you some money. But yes, I'm looking forward to this. First of all, I just want to personally, at the freshman, just commend you for undertaking this endeavor, for engaging in this platform to bring to your audience and to individuals who are in need an opportunity and a space to hear upliftment, hope, healing, and an opportunity to transform and change their lives no matter what has happened in the past. And I am living proof of that by God's grace and mercy. So kudos to you in the wonderful, wonderful work that you are doing.
Thank you so much, and I wish I had a sound bar. Thank you. So, to begin, tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to dedicate your life to mental health and trauma-informed care.
Yes, that is a very apropos question. It has a lot of moving parts to it over my lived experience and lifespan. So I guess to give a truncated synopsis or overview, if you would, life shows up, right? Life's for everyone. And clearly I was not exempt. So there were some significant life-changing circumstances that I encountered. At a young age, my first was probably was at the age of approximately 23 years old when I was in college. I'm living my best life too, Sister Tamesha. I'm talking about living my best life. I was I was on a basketball scholarship at Kentucky State University. This would have been in the mid-'80s. I'm on the Student Justice Court, president of the English Club. And so I'm just, I got a 3.3 GPA. So I'm doing very well. And then all of a sudden I had a vehicular motor vehicle accident that, much to my chagrin, ended with the death of one of my passengers. So I go through that legal involvement. I stood trial for that. I was subsequently found not guilty, but there were some things that were unresolved, and I'll get into that later. So I never spoke with anyone professionally, never had counseling, never dealt with that. And my life began to spiral out of control. So I go into the military because now I've engaged some very destructive and maladaptive self-harming behavior. I'm doing things, making poor decisions. I'm living a reckless lifestyle. So I go into the military. I joined the United States Marine Corps. The demons still haunted me. I had some issues there, but I get an honorable discharge and come out, and did very well for a long period of time, and then out of the blue, I start having this very elevated sense of self. And it took me back to my old demons. And that took me on another very negative, deleterious trajectory where it took me to places I didn't want to go and made me stay longer than I wanted to stay. But in that journey, Tamesha, I met individuals who shared so much with me, who literally came to me to help them heal while I'm still healing. My life is still not where it needs to be. So I say all that to say that God put me on a path to where I have met some of the most damaged, fragile, scared, hurt, disappointed, angry individuals. And they did not know, number one, that was not them at all. That was what they had allowed themselves to become, as I did, because I became I was one of the most angry, bitter individuals. And so God, when he redeemed me and anointed me and put me on this path of this healing ministry, he has truly given me the tongue of the learned so that I may speak a word in season to him that is weary. Straight out of Isaiah 54. So I believe that. I take this work very seriously because we are all beautifully flawed individuals. And we deserve and we have the right to live the most optimum quality of life that we can. So that's it in a nutshell. That's how I got into this space.
As a veteran, you've experienced military culture at firsthand. What are some of the mental health challenges veterans commonly face when transitioning from military service to civilian life?
Yeah, Tamesha, that is such a fabulous question that a lot of individuals, especially veterans, really struggle with. I am also a national service sponsor. And what that entails is that I've partnered, and it's a great program called Upward Bound. It used to be enlisted transitioning service members by Dr. Girassi have put this together, but they're national. So what they do is they pair up transitioning service members that are coming home from active military duty with a sponsor for exactly that very reason you have just intimated, so that they can help them navigate that transition. Research has found, Tamesha, that the first 30 days of veterans transitioning from active military service to civilian life is called the deadly gap. That is the highest peak and proclivity for one to attempt to complete death by suicide. Now, Tamesha, you asked that, why is that? Well, I'm going to tell you why. In my trainings, and I train law enforcement and crisis intervention training on this specifically, I do a specific training for this. And there are three key things that a veteran loses when he leaves active military service. The first thing is a sense of belonging. Okay. The second thing is a sense of identity. And the last thing is a sense of purpose. You see, when I was in the military, and much like my fellow military contemporaries, we know what unit we belong to. We know what our job is. We know what our mission is. We know those things. But when we leave, now we're just, what do I do? Because we're used to going to formation. We're used to having musters. We're used to having, we're used to all this. It's dictated. So now I don't have any of that. I don't know. And to transfer it over qualitatively into a resume in the civilian sector, sometimes it's difficult. Another thing that some veterans have is the lack of discipline that we find in civilian society. So that too comes into play when we run into that, because we come from such a disciplined environment that we just rudeness that can set us off. Just people who just are just in a hurry can set us off. So there's a lot of underlying things as well. And then if you add in to the fact that if we were ever deployed, because I'm also a combat era veteran of the Persian Gulf War, so if we were ever deployed and witnessed things like that, that also exacerbates the proclivity for us to have these other mental health wellness challenges. And then we talk about relationships and children and all that thing. So there's a lot. It is a lot. It is a lot. Housing, because a lot of military personnel stayed on base housing, on station. And so now they have to come out and get housing and do things of that nature, and how to navigate your GI Bill for education if you want to go to school, the VA home loan. There's just a lot to it. Now, the VA does a fairly decent job of educating our veterans, but it's a lot to it. It's a lot to it. It really is.
Many people may not recognize or realize they're living with unresolved trauma. What are some of the signs that someone, well, let me back up. What are some signs that someone may be struggling from your perspective?
Yeah, and Tamesha, again, I have to just be. I would be egregiously remiss if I didn't again interject to you that what you're doing in this platform, they say give people their flowers while they can receive them. So it is imperative that I give you your bouquet while we're engaged in this, because I talk about this at length. And the reason why I do this, Teresa, the reason why I am so committed to this, I research what I do all the time. I am constantly looking for trainings, research that is applicable to what I do, because I have realized now through my own lived experience that we come from one of the most traumatized countries with the United States. Then we come from being one of the most traumatized cultures when I talk about African Americans. So when we talk about trauma and unrepressed science, there is literally a labyrinth, a myriad, just an infinite amount of subtle, what we call innocuous symptomologies that could present themselves on a daily basis. Let's just take me and you. I get it right here. Unrepressed, and suppressed trauma. What does that look like? I'm gonna tell you what mine looks like, and it is part of my PTSD symptomology. But we have people who have very, what we call aggressive responses, trauma responses, to where you might have been out in public and seen somebody respond to an external stimuli and be like, damn, they tripping. But you don't know where that response has come from. You don't know if all their life they had to fight from a survival mode. So if you have been ensconced and spent the majority of your time of your life from childhood living in a survival mode, what does that mean? Meaning that you had to go get it. because you came from a very financial duress environment, hardship environment. You came from domestic violence, intimate partner violence. You came from food insecurity, a food insecure environment. You came from a lack of having access to transportation, the internet. You came from this. So you work from a survival mode, meaning that you go get it. You don't know if you're going to eat tomorrow. So you have to hold on to everything you get. You don't know how much money you're going to have. So you got to hit a lick, hustle. You ain't trying. That's your mindset because that's what you need to survive and get your needs met. So when we talk about these unsuppressed symptomology of trauma, they can be, I mean, it can be so innocuous, Tamesha, that we have to really just look at and understand because I did a training not so long ago. And there was a young lady in my training who you would think that I would know this, but she said it and it resonated so strongly with me. It was so profound. All behavior is communication, period. And that is so, and when you, because I see how your response, and that is so, it's so true. I don't care how we put it out there. That's so true. All behavior is communication.
I totally agree. Wow, that's deep.
Yeah, it is.
When you said
It's,
that,
it's
I had to think. Yes, all behavior is a
all
form
behavior
of
to me
communication.
is a form of communication. Listen, whether we like it or not.
Right.
Mm,
Healing looks different for everyone.
it is different for everyone.
From your experience, what does healing from trauma actually?
You know, I could do, and I've done numerous podcasts and get posed that's that very question all the time. And I could do your podcast today, do one a week from now or a month from now, get asked that very same question, and my answer would be different. What does healing look like? I literally just got off the phone with a young lady and asked her, what is your end result? What are you looking for? So when we talk about healing, I am convinced, even in my own personal journey, Tamesha, for healing, your healing has to be so self-directed. Do you understand me? You can't heal for nobody else but yourself. Now, will other people perhaps benefit from your healing journey? Absolutely. And they have in mine. But I ain't healing for them. I had to tell my children, my mother, God rest her soul, my sister, I ain't healing for you. Because I learned that when I was healing for other people, I was giving them too much power. Because even people we love at times will hold us hostage to our past. Kevin ain't doing that. I ain't doing it with my wife. I ain't doing it with my kids. God has brought me too far for me to allow an individual who ain't got a heaven or hell to put me in to hold me hostage about what I used to be. Because I'm very transparent. To me, you can't do this work without being transparent. You have heard me. You've been in a number of my trainings. I tell people all the time, before they ever called me Dr. Scott, they called me a whole bunch of other stuff. And all of it was apropos. All of it fit. So I didn't know how real you wanted me to get. I didn't know how deep a dive you wanted me to take in this thing. But I'm trying to tell you, I have been called it all by some people who love me dearly. And one who even gave birth to me. You understand? So, hey, this is real. You have to be honest with your healing. You have to first acknowledge that you hurt it, that you hurt. We have to articulate and verbalize our pain and give it space. There are two things I want to give you. They are called radical acceptance and toxic positivity. Now, what do you mean by that, Kevin? Radical acceptance and positive and toxic positivity. Well, I'm going to tell you, Tamesha, because this is where we get into trouble when we talk about healing from trauma. Let's start with the first one. Radical acceptance. Meaning that we just have to radically accept everything that happens to us and find a silver lining in it. Hell no. No. We have some deep scars. Some people have been, excuse me, but through some real shit to me that have scarred them physically, emotionally, socially, spiritually, financially. And you just ain't gonna wake up and get over that. You have to be intentional in your healing, and you have to be okay with saying, hey, I'm still troubled and damaged by this, but I will not allow it to take me in a direction or a path that I don't want to go. So now I control that. Toxic has positivity. Everything that happened to you ain't positive. Love, let's find a silver line, turn the other cheek. Hey, I mean, that's all good. I'm going to tell you right now, I will never tell nobody that only by God's grace and mercy am I sitting here doing this podcast with you. Only by Kevin didn't do a damn thing. I couldn't. Every time I tried, I failed. I had help along the way, but please believe it. So when I'm talking about toxic positivity, what am I saying? I'm saying I can be the most faith-having individual. But Mark 9:25 says, the young man tells God, God, I believe, but help my unbelief. Don't come giving me no scripture right now when I ain't trying to hear it. Don't come beat me over the head with Jesus right now when I ain't trying to hear it. Now, you can pray for me, that's fine. But right now, let me be where I need to be. Because healing and trauma ain't convenient. Sometimes it's very inconvenient. Sometimes your healing process, Tamesha, and you know this just like I know, don't take you to some spaces and places and make you deal with some emotions you do not fucking want to deal with. Period. Ain't no work around that. It ain't. Your hard work is your hard work. Kevin's hard work was Kevin's hard work. I didn't get here by being cute, coy, and cavalier. I had to get my feelings hurt in the process. I had to shed some tears in the process. I had to go sit my ass down in places I didn't want to be in the process. So when we talk about trauma, man, you better be ready to get it. You better ready. That man in the mirror ain't gonna hold you up. See, you got me started. I said I was gonna be reserved. I promised I was.
No, you good. This is what the people need to hear. We are
Absolutely.
having an authentic conversation.
Ain't no
I
question.
never
Ain't no
discussed
question.
anything with you. All I told you what the title was, and now we just having a authentic conversation and getting the message out to the people. And that's what people need to hear and see. Not,
Absolutely.
oh, you gonna be fine. No, you give it to them what like they need to hear. They need to hear that. So do your thing. Like I'm letting you do you.
I just had a conversation. Thank you, and I appreciate that because I can't be nobody but me, and I truly believe that it is because I have another saying that I tell people: people appreciate people who are products of the process. I am a product of the process of the very things that I'm telling you to heal because I had to go through it. This ain't something I read in a book. This ain't something I went to online to me. I'm trying to tell you. I just had a conversation with a young man about the realness of having a felony. How you can come and apply for literally hundreds of jobs and won't get a response back. And the individual I was speaking to is working at McDonald's. And people look at that as negative or things of that nature. I'm trying to tell you, listen, your Benz or your Maybach or your BMW may be a Hyundai or a Ford Escort or a Focus to start off with. Do you understand me?
Hello.
And you better be happy with that. Because for a long time, I wasn't driving nothing but my left and right shoe. That's it. So how am I gonna get mad? We have to understand what the difference between investment is and cost. When you are recovering and healing, especially my justice involved individuals, you ain't gonna catch up with the Joneses as soon as you touch these bricks. You've been gone too long. We have to make realistic, tangible goals and be okay with the small incremental growth and progress. That will help you. It helped me tremendously.
What advice family members who want to
Mm.
support a veteran or loved one health challenge?
Yeah. Family are impacted almost. One could make an argument that family members, supporting members, primary caregivers, things of that nature, whoever your support network is, they go on that journey with you. And one of the biggest barriers or challenges is when I've seen loved ones, my own loved ones, watch me through my dual diagnosis, work with my mental and substance use, and to watch a loved one uh, decompensate and deteriorate before your eyes is one of the most heart wrenching. Because what can you do? And at times, there's nothing you can do because here's what happens, Tamesha, to your question. Some of our veterans who even have a mental illness diagnosis, they can function enough and speak articulate enough to when they go to court. The judge can't do because they can make decisions. They're not incompetent. Their mental acuity is not in any way compromised or diminished. Those are the most challenging. Those who refuse to take their medication like they're prescribed. And when I've had conversation after conversation with parents of veterans, spouses of veterans, children of veterans who want to get their loved one the help they need, but they don't want to get the police involved. And I understand that from a cultural perspective. Again, I understand that. But I hate to say it, sometimes we have to get the police involved to get them to the place where they need to get the help they need. So now you have to make a decision as a family member or a wife or a child, that hard decision that only you can make. How bad do I want this help? And I mean, it is a difficult decision to me. It is difficult.
Mental health continues to carry a stigma in
God.
many communities. What can we do to create a culture where people feel safe asking for help?
Well, again, this is your another bouquet of flowers to you. What can we do? Exactly what you're doing to bringing this dialogue and conversation to the masses, to bringing this conversation to our relatives, our cousins, to the people on the corner, outside the liquor store, the trap house, the women on the corner. That's how we get a safe space because we are all beautifully flawed. And I say this in my trainings, I tell people all the time, and I think you're going to like this, Tamesha. I tell them that you owe your future more of an opportunity than you owe your past an apology. A lot of times in our healing process, Tamesha, we want to apologize to the past. The past has happened. we have to give ourselves an opportunity in the here and now and in the future. We can't change yesterday, which brings us to another point. Tamesha, when you talk about trauma healing and healing from trauma, people go to therapy. And I want people to hear my voice and understand this. You are not going to therapy to heal from what happened to you in the past. That has happened. You go to therapy because what has happened to you in the past is still causing negative, maladaptive, or deleterious decision making or behaviors in your present. So therapy is going to allow you to, first of all, identify that, develop a plan that works for you, that is healthy and positive, that will allow you to live the best optimum quality of life that you so desire to use, and only as you prescribe it for yourself. You with me, Tamesha?
I'm with
We're doing this thing. Go on.
you. With you. If someone is watching today and feels overwhelmed, isolated, or believes no one understands what they're going through, what message would you like to leave?
The message I would like to leave with them, Tamesha, is simply this. A couple of things. Number one, find you a caring, compassionate person that you can talk to like yourself, Tamesha, who's going to be non-judgmental, who know that life's short for everybody, number one. Number two, we all get overwhelmed, even the professionals. I have my moments, I have my days. Let me lose my car keys. I'm trying to tell you, you will see my PTSD symptomology kick into the 10th degree. I'm trying to tell you, it's terrible. It's embarrassing. Number three, 988, text 988 if you're have any type of thoughts of suicidal ideations of harm or hurting yourself. I also want to say this, Tamesha, when it comes to having suicidal thoughts or ideation. There's nothing wrong with that. Plenty of people have suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideations. We're so quick as a society to want to tell people not to have those thoughts. And my question would be why? We tell people don't stop hearing voices who are schizophrenic or suffer from schizophrenia. We don't tell people to stop having high blood pressure. We don't stop telling people to stop having diabetes or cancer or high cholesterol. We don't tell people to stop being angry. No, we teach them to manage that. We give them medication and things of that nature. So I think when people are having these suicidal ideations, that they need to have a plan, a concrete plan, and a discussion on why that they feel that that is an option. The VA I will give the VA credit. They have engaged in a very robust campaign against combating veteran suicide, where they use SAVE, an acronym called SAVE, SAVE. Signs of risk and harm, ask the tough questions, validate their feelings, and encourage them to get help. So that would be, and then last thing I would tell them, Tamesha, and this is probably the most important, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. Take a deep breath, step back. No one asks to be the victim of trauma. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some credit for being a survivor of trauma, because we are all beautifully flawed individuals. Give yourself some grace. Forgive yourself as well.
So before we close, I ask everyone a question. What does the journey continue?
That's a deep question. What does the journey continues mean to me? I tell you, Tamesha, for me personally, I know that this is my calling. I know that God didn't pull me off the belly of the beast to get me this level of professional skill set to keep it to myself. I truly believe that every person on this planet, we have a duty to make someone's life better for having met us. And for those of us who are called to a higher standard, like myself, who know that God has charged me to go to specific populations to do this work. So the journey continues for me that I have constantly got to go to engage with individuals like you who I hold dearly and have so much high esteem and respect for doing this. To be able to call me and say, Kevin, because I get referrals all the time. Well, Kevin, I need you to come back and do this podcast and know that I'm going to be there. And sometimes we do the work, even though my Bible tells me the labor is worthy of his reward. I do so much stuff for free because there's no price we can put on the work that we do. There's no price in saving a life. So the journey continues for me to look like, Tamesha, that I have constantly, number one, I have to prepare myself to do this work, to be ready to do it, and understand that there is a person dependent on me whose life I might be saving. So I can never be selfish. That's it in a nutshell.
Dr. Scott, thank you for joining us today and for sharing your knowledge, your experiences, your passion for helping others. We appreciate the work that you're doing to support veterans, individuals living with trauma, and communities seeking hope and healing. To everyone watching and listening, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Journey Continues podcast. If today's conversation encouraged you, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who may need it. Together,
Like it.
we can continue breaking the stigma surrounding mental health and reminding others that healing is possible.
Absolutely. Please like this episode. Give Miss Tamesha Little her just due, her flowers. This is so needed. And Tamesha, again, I just want to thank you for being a beacon of hope and a trailblazer and an advocate in this space.
I'm your host, Tamesha Little, and remember, the journey continues.